Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 10th episode for the House of Light series we're doing on YouTube. I made it to Friday. I'm still very tired, but we've done it. I do apologize for the bouncy week. Of course, this week will be over, and I've now immortalized my tricky week, but too late now. I've already said it. So I'm still holding out hope of hosting a salon. In fact, one thing I might want to do is just try and invite as many people as I can. The window in which I'm going to be able to do this is rapidly closing. So I don't know. I think I'd rather prepare a proper salon rather than take the work that I've done here and sort of kick the can down the road. This, of course, means that I may lose the option to host it in the Physic Garden. But what I think I will prioritize if that happens, I'm going to make some efforts to unlock the... oops. I'll make an effort to unlock either the Silvered Snares or the Rose Haunted Hall. So 7 Grail, 7 Nectar. If I get Arab, that will really be that'll really be the thing that decides it. But now I don't know what I have in terms of time. So I've got a shaft that's kind of sitting unused right now. I'm a little curious what I did to deserve that. But I suppose the easy option here is just to find a marrow. So ideally I get a golden marrow, something that Douglas will be able to make use of. A pale marrow. In Brandkrug they take marrows seriously. This is a marrow redolent of sorrow. So I can feed these to people, I can feed these to the chickens, or I can do a stuffed pale marrow as well. All of them are valid options. I haven't made a decision yet. Right now I'm looking for... I'm looking to try and make the most... Or I'm looking to specifically get a golden marrow that I could use with Douglas more. And I think what I will do, I'm going to see if I can read the Rose of Hypatia. Oh, that's right. I can't read the Rose of Hypatia until I get the Motley Tower. So I think in this case, I will probably bring in Mrs. Kill. And, really, I spent so much trying to get that... Oh, hang on. I'm thinking of different sessions. There was one on Twitch where I got Mr. Kill to open this up with Sky. I can't even hire Mr. Kill. Okay. Is there a situation... I suppose one question I have for myself is there a situation where I don't hire Mrs. Kill today? Let's take a quick moment to make sure that I have the points required. I don't think this is in question, but let me just take the time. So we've got Mrs. Kill. So that'll be 1 heart in this case. So then we add the core, which will be worth 2. So that gives me a total of 3. Now we have access to the kitchen bowls, so that is going to be another heart. Okay, so that gives us 4. At which point, of course, we use a memory. And that gives us the 6. So yes, no matter what happens, bringing in Mrs. Kill is the right call, even though, of course, it's going to cost money, and I'll need to renew an element of the soul and such. But in this case, this is the right call. So Mrs. Kill likes conversations about beginnings. Her husband prefers to talk about endings. A shilling will buy her help for a day. So we need 12... There we go. It says shilling right there. I just wasn't paying attention. Okay. Next up, I suppose the question would be, So I've got an uncatalogued book. I suppose the sensible move right now is to see what I can do to get myself closer to the salon. So let's start by, I want to just take a small inventory of the different inks that I can make. So I've got an inks of containment here, Stargall and Ugall, neither of which are really relevant to my current needs. I don't have... Well, actually, sorry, that's not true. I can add a Solomon's Preparation to see... Okay, so the Eigengrau doesn't really mean a whole lot to me right now. And for a Sneaky Moon... I think the Ambergris... Well, I mean, Ambergris Chunk is a start. So where do I get my other two? It's going to be fuel or a liquid. Catwink will probably do the trick there. Okay, so if I get enough moon, I can make Catwink. So the reason why I think that's important, I'll illustrate here. So if we take that Catwink and we take the Black Book. So what are the guests that I would want to invite? Well, Serena, Fraser Strathcoyne, Arthur Moore, and eventually Douglas Moore. So what would it take to get Arthur Moore in? Well, 3 lantern. We have 2 lantern with pyroglyphics, and we have the mirror scope. So, oh, hang on. I can't add the mirror scope here, so I would actually... I need to make sure I have a memory as well. Okay, good to know. So likewise, with Serena Blackwood, in this case, we would just use Bells and Brageries. Scale, I don't think we've pushed far enough. I think we'd still be relying on Wolf Stories and Peribiot. And then, of course, there's different inks, there's different circumstances in which I use things. But really what I need to worry about right now is where do I get the ink? So we've got a Ugall ink, which is nice. We've got a Catwink, which we can work with. We've got... I don't really want to give up the Stargall because I'm not able to make that. Maybe there's an answer to make another Catwink. Let's see what the... So the Occult Scrap doesn't really help me with that, but... Actually, one other thing that I want to do while I'm looking at this, let's just see what my other options are for crafting. Now that's interesting. So this should be pretty easy to fix. Let's just find some powerful forge things to throw in there. Okay, Westcott's Compounds, and Bitter Black Salts should help. Cool, well, now I can make another Iotic Essence from an Iotic Essence, also known as setting Bitter Black Salts on fire. I can maybe take the time and see Bells and Brageries, so in this case it would want add metal. Okay. I don't know if I have a metal that would count for this. I think copper wire would be... Well, we do have the Gervanite, but the Gervanite doesn't have forge. So I'm at it. But then we have more than enough here. So yes, if I add the Gervanite... Okay, or a Kelcum wire. That's kind of interesting, but the Gervanite is itself a fairly powerful item, so I'll set that aside. Pyroglyphics is up next. So Iotic Essence. Probably should have been doing this a bit before, but it doesn't hurt to look now. So we need to find something with winter on this one. Bittersweet Certainty. I suppose the question is, could I find 3 more? And I'm not so sure. Well, I think the Periost helps us, actually. All right, Pearl and Tide. Oh, right. Sea Stories, then. Okay, that's good to know. I should have maybe looked for Grail, but not going to complain about that. I think with the Grail we could add the Sacrament Callicite, and then we need 2 more. And that's 1. I feel like there should be some sort of Grail. Actually, the Sly no, interesting. Oh, darn it. Right, because I'd already used the Sacrament Callicite. Okay, so substances. Actually, the flowers would help us here. So the Fragrant Chalice. And had I been paying attention, I would have noticed that I need fabric. All right, moving on. Sights and sensations. I don't know if we have much in terms of sky. Of course, we've already figured out sky for that one. So we want to see what's happening in Winterworld. Eigengrau, and do I have a credible path to another 5 winter? I think not. So on we go. Snow Stories, Bittersweet Certainty. Do I have a way of adding sufficient moon? I think I do. Do I remember how to do that? I don't think so, but we'll figure it out. Ambergris Chunks, a good start. I just had a fairly decent... Well, we can start with Catwing. Oh, that's right. No, so the thing I think I'm thinking of is Dark Sapphire Wash. And that is a little harder to come by right now. Okay, so we're at least getting some basics down. Next up would be Meniscate Reflections. So this one, at the very least, we should be able to figure out some forge stuff here. Okay, Westcott's compounds, but I feel like we should be able to do better. Actually, the Gervinite is... No, hang on. Gervinite doesn't have forge. I keep tripping myself up with that. Westcott's compounds will do the trick. All right, do I want to try and do something fancy with edge? So the serpent milk would help with that, and we should have that in the... And then I would need 2 more edge. But I would need a memory aspect, and I don't have any available memory, so we'll just set that aside. Transformations and liberations. Fairly obvious combination here of forge and Westcott's compounds, so more iotic essence. I would like, if I can, to do something with the moth, but I would actually want to do that at this desk, so I'll maybe just remember for the next one. Quenchings and Quellings. Really, this one is about the winter, so we will oblige, but if I can find something to throw some... I'm not going to find 4, so let's just leave that aside. Heart, I think the Ruby Wise Ruin... Oof, that's not a lot. But if I could find 2... Actually, the Heart in a Jar ought to do the trick. Okay. Not expecting miracles with that, but it's just nice to be able to get a few more entries in. Okay, so Sacrament Callicite and Fabric, we already know the end of that story. I don't think there's much scale that I can bring to bear on this one. Well, ambergris again. So what about the solution? Oh, you know what'll work? Because it wants fuel, the Lignum Vitae Blanc will... Oh, do I not have that yet? Yeah, it's right here. Okay, so Bisclerae is not too special. So yeah, we've got the white, we've got the winter and the moon items. So these have some promise. I guess Catwink's probably the most likely on this one because we get the 1 moon already. We can get another from the Tryst. And then we can get 2 from a memory, at which point we can convert. Like, so I almost never use ambergris chunk, for instance. So at that point, we can start, throwing away a couple of things that I don't use very much, just turning them into Catwing. Because right now, I just need to churn this stuff out. So anyways, we don't have anything we need to learn from Inks of Containment. And that's it. So I do apologize. I know some people don't want to see me investigate a whole bunch of different skills, but it can sometimes be helpful just to get a read on some of the things that I need. So, I do not recall if I have the skin shuck mead. Normally that's here. Yep. Okay. And then for matter, we can probably just put in the moth orchid. But I would need a memory, which we can add here. Okay, so we kind of knew that the name day riddle would be coming out, but that's fine. Also, yeah, we've already found out how to make the glass finger toxin, so no surprises there. I think spices and savors we already covered. Okay, well, there's his cordials. Do I think there's a credible path to nectar? I think it's worth trying. The occult scrap doesn't count for anything, but I'm not opposed to just keeping that there. And they want wood. And funnily enough, I think in this case, I can't actually put wood in here because it doesn't count as a plant. So this, yeah, no wood remains or anything like that. I'm sure there's probably some way that I can angle this around. I would ideally find some kind of nectar workbench. In fact, I feel a little bit bad that I'm doing this, but now I'm curious. So I guess we don't need the occult scrap anyway, but if I combine these and then I do the same trick with the sacrament malachite, and then I believe I can get away with fuel. So this presumably would be Pyrus Orichalcinus, yeah, or Orichalcinus. All right. So that's a nice option if I feel the need. All right, moving on. We have got, I think we did Edict's Liminal already, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Glass blowing and vessel crafting, that was a little unexpected, but... Okay, so we already know the knock stories here, so is there anything I can do with Sky? I think the easy answer to that is no, unless the Stargall gives me something. But then where would I put... Well, Blue Crown. Do I even have Blue Crown? I'm trying to remember if we've even done... Well, clearly we've done Winter, so... yeah, well, okay. that gets me 5 Sky, but that doesn't give me anything I didn't already know. Okay, Lockworks and Clockwork, same story, although at least in this case I can make use of the Gervinite. No, I can't make use of the Gervinite, so we head over to probably the place we should have checked. Now we can add the Gervinite, and I believe we can even add the Amethyst Ampule. There we go. Do I even want to see if there's anything I can do sky-wise? There's no sky metal, so I don't see a whole lot of value in trying that. Okay, so I think I said I wanted to see what I could do moth-wise with transformations and liberations, so we'll take the Skin Shuck Meat again, because that is a rather powerful moth item. Now this is very interesting. So we have 9 moth, and yet there's no discovered memory here. You have enough moth for apprentice level moth memory, but perhaps there's no suitable recipe here. Try another skill. Interesting. I was not expecting that. I know this is a bit of a weird one because you can do things like convert iotic to xanthotic essence and the other way around, so that might be a lantern thing, but I'm a little surprised that there's nothing moth-wise. I would have thought that at the very least... well, then again, we don't have the chimeric larva. Let's see if I can chuck a... Well, no, because an egg doesn't count as remains. Okay, let's not worry too much about that. I think we're near the end. Quenchings and Quellings, I don't think we have anything new to learn, but let me just double check. Yeah, unless I think I'm going to have a whole lot of heart that I can throw in here. I think I'd best leave it alone. Insects and nectars is probably going to be more... now this is one worth keeping an eye on. So technically, with my health, I just need to generate another... Oh, but I don't have an earth sign. So if we have a rainy day, that would be a good call. What sort of other nectar? So this is the time that I want to start actually taking a look at a few of these items. So I wouldn't do something like the Sacrament Malachite, because that's a very powerful nectar. I mean, I might use it to see what's going on. I can, if we take the matter, and I actually think, yeah, this gives us a lot of nectar. There you go, Lethe. And I guess I haven't done anything with moon on this one, so let's take the time and see what I can dig up. All right, that's a non-starter. Nope. Wasn't quite where I wanted to go with this stuff, but you know what? Let's, okay, midnight mark. Better than nothing, I suppose. But doesn't exactly set me on fire either. But yeah, so the Ugal ink here is kind of interesting just because it's, so between that and the, I should double check this. So my understanding here would be that it's the inks of containment and the insects and nectars that will be bringing me my invitation. So I'm just going to take one more quick second with the anything with the moon, because I imagine that would be what allows us to... Oh, I should actually make an old wound at some point. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't do anything with Pearl and Tide. What workstation? I don't think I've unlocked the workstation for this, actually. Okay, yeah, so that would explain why. And that, come to think of it, creates a complication, but... Well, Rhyme and Remembrance won't let me add the Tryst, so there's a problem with that. Yeah, my workbenches leave a bit to be desired. Okay, well, that's started. Anyways, let's just take a quick look at the moon stuff and make sure that I'm not leaving some obvious options on the table here. Keep forgetting that wolf store. Oh, this is interesting. So we can add another element to the soul. And then unexpected, but we add the lunar globe. Okay, another midnight mark. Cycle and eclipse. Right, so we're missing the required moon. Inks of containment, which that would not be enough for Catwink. Okay, yeah, so I also don't think I tried Edicts Inviolable with the heart, so... Alright, not quite what I need. I guess for curiosity... So I don't think I can use the ambergris in this case. Yeah, I think it's a little too much trouble for what I'm trying to do. Okay, so that's not completely wasted time. It's something that lets me know where I'm sitting as far as inks are concerned. So in practical terms, if I want to... I guess my ideal was to invite 5 guests, but I would need to write 4 invitations that don't involve Peribiot. In a pinch, I suppose I could use the Perunculate to try and invite Fraser Strathcoin, but that feels like a last resort. The fact that I'm doing this stuff at a desk actually is something that throws a wrench into the plans. The other thing that I could do as a hypothetical, so if I took my health, if I took, I think Wolf Stories might be my highest or only scale. It's not only. Oh, there we go. Okay, Pentiments and Precursor. This is looking a little more promising. So if we add a Fear, then we can invite Fraser Strathcoin with any old ink. Okay, so this is good. So here's what we're going to do. And again, this is prep work. This is not finished yet. But if I can get the required inks in place. So, yeah, those are the two that I've got right now. I'm not going to use Hound's Gall. And the Star Gall's a little hard for me to get back to. Okay, so it looks to me like I only have 2 of the required 5. And again, we don't yet have all of the recipes that we want to make either. But I do have a fighting chance of making this work now. So, before I do anything else, let's just see what the weather is. Okay, a sunny day. Now, in theory, that might get me a... well, where would I put the... I guess the question is, where would I put the sky? So if I take that, I take Inks of Containment, I had the sunny day. I could get, say, a Confounding Parable, but then I would still need another sky. Well, no, then I just take the... I take the Astrolabe. Okay, so we've got something we can work with here. I don't see a situation where... Well, actually, okay, there is one other thing for me to say. I did just hire Mrs. Kill. Well, right, no, sorry, I can't hire Mr. Kill because I don't have the winter. Okay, so yes, we're still going to work with Mrs. Kill. I probably want to upgrade her as quickly as possible and send her up the tower. So that tells me my next few moves. Our focus is going to be on the Rose of Hypatia. I'm going to... I think I do want to try and make some Catwink in this case. So the Catwink formula is going to be... I'm going to use all my Trist for this. The Shapt I don't need to worry about. So, yes. And against my better judgment, I think I'm going to... I think I'm going to catalog that last book. Catalog a Nocturnal Period book. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's Nocturnal Period after the end of the century. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. Okay, so that was a whole lot of talking. Now, I worked out... Okay, so for the game chips, I need potatoes, but I need a... Okay, so before I go any further, I think I'm going to just get the requirements for my ink. So I've got a Confounding Parable here. If I have Intuition, well, only one, but here we go. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. And then I don't think I can actually read this other book. Not yet, anyway. A day's work is a night's dreaming. Midwife's assistant's as somber as autumn, as kind as autumn. She also likes her beer. So I think this might be the first time we've hired Mrs. Kill. I don't recall. It is summer. I am sitting outside the on the bench outside the Sweet Bones, eating crumbly cheese and nettle wrappings and good black rye bread, soaking up the sun. Now, I suppose one thing I didn't think about was the memory. So I should have actually unpacked that, but I do at least have the kitchen bowls to offer. So proffer a tool. I can lend my assistant something to help, increasing their abilities. You'll still be able to use the tool. So from there, we want to... I'm trying to minimize the Trist that's getting used, so unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to... Well, see, I do also need access to the vegetables, so I'm going to clench my teeth and do the gardening here, and then I'm going to take the Trist, which normally would have been used to make a Catwink. I'll read something with a storm instead. Heart Unceasing. I've already just wait a bit. The Cheerful Ditty saves the day. And I know I'm at the end of the episode time, like right around the time that I'm starting to put all this stuff into play, so we'll go a little bit later. I'm hoping that's a good thing for most rather than others, but let's see if we can make some progress. I've carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. This will complete once dawn has come. So one thing I should note, by the way, is it is mildly tempting to just see if I can get away with... so we do Inks of Containment here, and I add the Cheerful Ditty and the Sunny Day. I guess I would need a Dear Day lens, which I don't currently have. I think I know where I could find one. But yeah, that would not be sufficient for the Stargall. So we'll carry on. I am trying to think how I might make good use of the Sunny Day, but I'm not... The Locksmith's Dream, Stolen Reflections, the fourth volume of Teresa Galmier's expansive work, no longer a discussion of the dreams of artisans, but a valuable survey of other works. The tone is calmer than that of Trespasses, but occasionally fearful, even paranoid. This volume was published in 1926, but almost immediately recalled and pulped by the publisher, at the request of the author or possibly the authorities, depending on which story you believe. A few copies survive. So this is one we can read right away, and it will give me Watchman's Paradoxes, which I don't yet have. So I guess I have an outside option of reading this book. It's not really a high priority for me to read it with the Sunny Day, just because Bells and Brageries is more or less an automatic win for that. So the way I would pull that off is basically Stolen Reflections, add the Astrolabe, and then whatever element of the soul would be appropriate. In this case, I can't use any of these. But... we don't really need to focus on that right now. It's a nice to have, but it's not going to make the difference towards my immediate goal. Mrs. Kill has seen more of the world than she usually lets on. Conversations with her yield the occasional surprise. I can discuss a memory with my assistant. This will use up the memory, but boost the assistant's abilities for the rest of the day. So I'm hoping we will be able to level up the core. And again, the priority here is going to be opening up the Motley Tower rather than using her to generate memories. It would be nice to have Mrs. Kill generating memories, but I just have... There's just a little too much that's being asked of my character right now. Also, I forgot to get a confounding parable, so Locksmith's Dream, Portions and Proportions, the second volume of Teresa Galmier's examination of parallels in the mystic dreams of artisans. The frontispiece has been slashed with a razor. And I think today, I'm not even going to bother trying to make money. I think I'm just going to try and churn out as many different ingredients as I can. So, against the Sisterhood of the Knot and the foulness of their depraved customs, Hieronymus Pseudo-Hypnotomachus wrote this furious screed about the sinister influence of the Sisterhood of the Knot on his own Church of the Unconquered Sun. Hieronymus claims that the powers that served the Sisterhood of the Knot made an arrangement. The Thunderskin loved the ewe, and the Grail destroyed him as restitution for the destruction of the Axe's loved ones. Hieronymus's writing becomes incoherent with rage at this point. Hieronymus recovers his composure, eventually, to describe how the Thunderskin entered the Mansus through the Peacock Door. This, Hieronymus insists, is abomination upon abomination, but then that most abominable of doors has always been an abomination. Alright, so there's an intuition for us. You just know, you know. And from that, I should be able to make... Let's just use up the telescope, because I imagine we're not going to do too much with that. So why did I think... Oh, yes, of course. Lunar Globe. Catwink, brew a minor ink with a virtue against vermin. So the reason we're making the beeline for the Motley Tower, again, is just so that I can read... so I can read the Rose of Hypatia. Now, the funny thing is I don't actually have the same need for weaving and knot working like I used to. But... It's a nice to have just because this desk would be useful for other reasons. And, well, I've also just kind of committed to it now, which is a terrible reason to do anything, but, yeah, I am going to at least be able to use the occult scrap, and then we can add Douglas Moore's card. But again, I think at this point we can probably say that the salon's probably not happening. Everything goes easier with a song, boosts heart and grail. Should be taking the time to renew my elements of the soul. And then another thing that I can do is pour a glass of water. So at some point I'll drop another one, but I've got plenty right now. Carrots, tomatoes, marrows, and blessed onions, all the unsung heroes of the stew pot. So we're going to renew that health right away. Whether I do that for another trip to the garden or something else, I'm not quite sure yet, but my assistant and I are both a little merrier. Motley Tower is the third floor. The theoplasmic miasma that hung around the room below is a little stronger here and a little different, with a rotten, musky scent that suggests a decaying reptile house. Perhaps something layered here after the inhabitants departed. Perhaps the inhabitants dreamt unwisely. In any case, the right counter-influences will dispel it. Alright, I'm trying to think if there's anything I want to do with the talk verb right now, and unless I hire someone, I think we're good. My elements of the soul are more or less spoken for the rest of the day. So I think maybe what we'll do is with the... I think the metal I'll try and get another... Actually, you know, we've already got enough, so I need to set aside the tryst to be able to read the book I'm already reading, so perhaps now is the time for me to try and do cooking instead. Anyways, The Locksmith's Dreams, Portions and Proportions, the second volume of Therese McElmuy's examinations of the parallels in the mystic dreams of artisans. The frontispiece has been slashed with a razor. In this volume, Galmier records fewer dreams and explicates more on her own elaborate theories. We see this again and again. What is below can't escape what is above. The finest artisans all dream of the white door in the end. I'm no artisan, only a scholar. I think there's a secret that all these artisans know, but I think that secret is only half the story. And I believe we haven't quite finished the catwink yet, so we'll just leave that be. I'm trying to remember, I felt like there was a reference to Ambrose Westcott. Alright, I'll leave it be for now. Alright, dark and pungent. The smell of catwink puts off vermin, but it is very different to read in sunlight. An ank of containment. So we're going to do the same thing, and this time we'll toss the confounding parable in. So remembering that we'll want to have 5 invitations in the end, I still need to brew 1 more of these. Better now. Alright, let's restore a core. This may be used for cooking. And the metal... So I suppose I have 2 options here. Maybe not. So I suppose one option would be I use this metal to read Stolen Reflections. I don't think that's a bad idea right now. Yeah, I can master this mystery. Enough sky to match mystery sky. So the alternative would be that the metal would be able to open up the sack of vegetables, and I would potentially get a golden marrow out of that. But I think probably that's a less interesting choice given some of the time restrictions I'm facing. Okay, so 3 uncatalogued books. We have The Motley Tower, The Regensburg Room. The physician Natan lived here in the 15th century, and his family after that, tolerated by the monks, until King Henry dissolved the foundation and granted the isle to Hendrik. Hendrik turfed them out of the tower and furnished the place more to his own taste, but when Christopher Olapoli moved in 400 years later, he restored what he could. Olapoli wrote at the time of his sympathy as a rootless foundling for the outcast Natan. I don't know what I am, but I don't think I'm English. So we'll have a number of things to deal with there, but let me just take a second and see what was made. All right, there's more of the catwink. So I have a number of things that I'm going to get done. All right, so more. Oop. Give me that invitation juice. Okay. Let's do an inventory of the place. So 3 baronial period books. Our benefactress, evidently someone who donated to the Curia but preferred to remain anonymous. Our benefactor, the same text. Reference image, this is no kind of reference for conventional medicine. A wine-dark chair, an elegant 18th century piece imported from France. We have Natan's desk. It's an apothecary's desk, all right, but it dates from at least 100 years after Natan of Regensburg came here. Of course, his son, his grandson, and his great-grandson were all Natan's too. A storm-tossed mirror, solid workmanship, but not obviously remarkable. We have a new bed, the Motley bed. An exile slept here long ago. And I think, a weighty bedside candle holder to comfort you through the dark hours. And a bag of tricks. Useful, a treacherously subjective term. Does this contain anything useful? So speaking of useful, we'll take the occult scrap. We will combine that with the Rose of Hypatia. We will take, I believe it was Transformations and Liberations. Let me just... Nope, I guess Edicts Liminal. Yeah, of course it was Edicts Liminal. What am I saying? And hang on. 2, 4, 6. Why did I think I would have 2 moth that I could work with here? I very obviously wasn't thinking straight here. But I do still have options. So I can try and make another catwink, or I can try and... I think I'm going to try for another catwink. And then this is a little longer than I was expecting, but let's make it another 15 minutes. Okay, so more vegetables. Now here I actually have some cooking options, so I'm going to take a minute on those. And I suppose the question here is there any value for me... Oh, this is actually going to be a really narrow window. Okay, so the funny thing is I actually don't think I'm going to be able to... It turns out I don't think I'm going to be able to make another catwink because I'm going to want to use this core for something else. So... I'll take the Tryst, I'll add that to Edict's Martial, and I can make an old wound which has the benefit, of being a persistent memory. So explore an old wound to waken the violent resonances within. Now my options here are I can try and cook. So let's actually take a minute and see my possibilities there. I'm going to rely on... So I wanted beef, game chips, a jumble, and a golden marrow. I have 4 ingredients that... I think I'm going to need 2 golden marrows. Oh, wait, no. Okay, Arthur wants lantern. Douglas wants lantern, so that's the jumble and the golden marrow. Madame Bichet wants forge, so that's the beef. Or maybe... Ah, it's the scale that I haven't worked out. Okay. But the main point here is unless I have the marrow, I actually don't have any of the things that I need to make the dish right now. So the reasonable call is more vegetables. A little bit of a different turn than I was thinking, but not a disaster because we are going to be up the Watchman's paradoxes, and we're also going to have a persistent memory. But I don't think it would hurt for me to have a game plan for how I'm going to handle the silvered snares or the rose-haunted hall. Oh, and my laundry just finished. So I'm sorry to leave it with a bit more time left in the day, but I know this is already a bit of a longer episode. I think I'm going to leave this here, and then I'll just try and make sure that on Monday... I mean, on Monday I kind of have a bunch of stuff to play through, so maybe I'll just speed up the run. But yeah, it's a bit of a funny one. So again, it's pretty clear in here... You can have a picnic, but only in spring or summer. So the window for that is closing, and I don't think within a day... Like, the challenge is if I'm going to spend the last day making all of the food, then I'm not going to have any elements of the soul for the salon, and that defeats the entire purpose. So I think I'm just going to accept that this may be too late, and then what I'll do instead is I'll focus on getting what I need for either the Rose-Haunted Hall, which I will be potentially getting access to because of summer, or alternatively, I use the edge that I have access to, and I'll get Denzel to open up the silvered snares. The big question on that one is where I get the remaining edge. I'm not going to give up the serpent milk for that, but we may have some other options. But of course, all of that will be handled in a future episode. So again, thank you all for dealing with a pretty rocky week as far as content was concerned. I never want to take the audience for granted, but it is appreciated nonetheless. I'm going to make sure I get a proper night's sleep tonight, and then that should leave me fresh and awake for the weekend to record some more episodes on time. Until then, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you on Monday.